The following program is based on actual true stories on the high seas. These true stories are fish stories.
Let it go.
Hawaii, the 50th state, the most remote landmass in the world. Marlin Quest has chosen Hawaii Island as its home base. It's the most diverse and largest of all Hawaiian islands. Kona Coast on the leeward side is the mecca of sport fishing and famous for Pacific blue marlin. Ken Corday from Los Angeles and Dan Dorr, a New Jersey native, have been fishing together since childhood. Nearly 40 years ago, with a half dozen of their friends, they found the golden goose of marlin hangouts, the Kona Coast on Hawaii's Big Island. Ken created the first tag and release tournament here over 30 years ago. It's the perfect reunion for friends that travel across the country.
It's so good to see you. Now I know a year has passed. He looks a year younger. I look pathetic as always.
This week, the team will split up. Dan and friends will fish here in Hawaii, while Ken goes on another assignment. Today, Dan's wish is to tag and release a Pacific blue marlin, and they've been active lately. Ken is off to the land down under, so it's halfway around the world to Australia. First stop, Sydney. Ken is scheduled for a week-long press tour for his Emmy Award-winning television series, Days of Our Lives. The series also airs in Australia. He'll hit the morning radio shows, magazine interviews, and national television shows. Sydney is the perfect setting with iconic attractions and lots to see and do here in this fun, non-stop capital city of New South Wales. Week 2 is an expedition to tag and release some of the biggest fish in the world. It's off to Cairns to the north on the Coral Sea, the gateway to the Great Barrier Reef, and a great seaside stopover. The adventure continues the next day with yet another flight. Flying over rugged terrain, remote valleys, untouched coastlines, and the Daintree rainforest. In Cooktown, they'll meet up with their charter, the Tradition, skippered by Captain Tim Richardson. This 49-foot custom game boat was created specifically to catch 1,000-pound black marlin. This will be Ken's fishing charter for the next week. It'll take them about an hour to cruise out to their mothership. On the way, some bait fishing for large mackerel, perfect bite-sized delectables for giant black marlin. The 114-foot beluga is their mothership and their base for the next week. It has all the comforts of home and serviced by a crew of 7. The next morning has become a tradition for all fishing guests, a morning snorkel on the reef. Later in the morning, it's all fishing business. The Tradition navigates through the Ribbon Reefs, a 75-mile-long string of individual coral reefs. This area is home to big black marlin. Its spawning season is now, and the smaller males follow the females, which range between 600 to 1,300 pounds. Ribbon Reef 5 and 6 is where they'll troll today. takes Ken no time to get this massive fish to a few yards behind the transom. Always on the minds of smart seafaring professionals, this is also a lethal weapon that can launch and kill at will.
Oh, Rasta Marlin.
In the name of marine science, Garrett sets the tag that can track this fish if caught again. Almost all species of marlin use the ocean's surface as their trampoline, famous for their acrobatic displays. This is an easy 300-pounder. Notice the vivid iridescence. A chemical release in their nervous system lights up a cascade of color.
Ken made quick work of it, got a tag in him, and clean release, let him go. It's all lit up next to the boat, be pretty mellow. Fishing in Australia is the Super Bowl of marlin fishing. It is the place to be.
From the top of the land down under, we head back east. Hawaii's Big Island, simply known as Hawaii, is big. Over 4,000 square miles big. Just off the Kona Coast, angler Dan Dorr is about to test his limits. Marlin Quest is brought to you by Airmar Technology, the leaders in chirp transducer technology, and by the Royal Kona Resort, an oceanfront landmark in the heart of Kailua Kona, Hawaii. You've already made a great choice in electronics. Now, achieve sonar superiority with an Airmar chirp transducer, advanced chirp technology that can find them in wrecks and find them in the depths. That's sonar superiority by Airmar. At Release Marine, our custom woodworking facility specializes in handcrafted sport fishing equipment and yacht furniture. Quality, durability, imagination. Release Marine. Always lead, never follow. While Ken has had a good day on the Great Barrier Reef, Dan is on Hawaii's Kona Coast, heading due north. They'll scoot west of Kona's International Airport. This area in Nautical Sector, India, is a favorite. Captain Bill Casey has been fishing in these waters for decades. Long time. It's rare to see a marlin attack a lure from this angle. Notice it whacks the lure the first time to injure it. This one is hungry. This is Dan's third hookup of the day. He's lost the first two. Dan has been on this fish for over an hour now.
I don't know if you want to put the satellite tag in a fish that's really whooped.
This tag. Come on, baby.
Just come to Papa. He's getting tired. He's going.
Dan gets the fish about 50 yards from the transom. And what happens next is enough to make a grown man cry.
Damn, are you kidding me?
The fish throws the hook. The reality starts to set in.
Nothing's easy.
They'll never see this fish again. So Dan renders his bye-bye fish salute.
You know, it's the nature of the game. I guess Dan was 3 for 3 yesterday, and today he's 0 for 3. Oh boy.
If you ever want to hook a fish, we have the lure. You just can't land it, but you can hook them. It's fantastic. That was a very, very strong, that was tough. Very difficult. We just about saw him. He spit it right out.
Coming up, there's more to do than just fish on Hawaii Island. Plus, beating a personal record.
This thing lights up and goes underneath the transom, comes out and chases 125 out of the water like shot out of a cannon.
Marlin Quest is brought to you by Airmar Technology, the leaders in chirp transducer technology, and by the Royal Kona Resort, an oceanfront landmark in the heart of Kailua Kona, Hawaii.
I bought, every single brand of manufacturer's hooks, and I laid them on top of each other. And then I realized over the last 40 years of sport fishing, we have not moved the needle at all on our hookup percentage.
Each year, thousands of sportsmen come to Hawaii Island to fish. But when it comes to chilling out, there are some of the best golf courses in the world right here. Each with unique signature holes, all surrounded by stunning beauty. These masterfully designed courses are some of the best.
We saw the series of 4 fish over $1,000, 1 a week in a month.
We hooked 4 fish over 1,000 and ended up losing 3 of them and catching 1, and the 1,400 pounder was the last one. And we caught the 1,400 pounder at the Double D fishing island right in front of Kaiwi Point on the 1,000 fathoms.
There was a big boat put on as a mooring, as a kind of a fishing island thing. And we pulled up to that late in the afternoon with no bites and grabbed a bait, started walking it around. And there was a big Nehu ball, which is like guppies, whatever you want to call them. Big black ball, and we pulled up alongside it, and you could see shiners from the big yellowfin in there eating it, and then the skipjacks, which we had down, and we stopped and sank the bait. And as we're standing there sinking the bait, this thing lights up and goes underneath the transom, comes out and chases 125 out of the water like shot out of a cannon.
Only one thing scares a 100-pound yellowfin tuna like that, and that's a big blue marlin.
Anyway, it cut the tunas out of the bait pile and had them underneath the boat as we're sitting there drifting. And it was chasing it from one side to the other, in and out, all lit up. You could see the tail of this fish, called it 9 to $1,000, flashing in and out from side to side. Ended up eating our bait, which we were shocked at, because usually what they focus on is what they eat. Next thing we know, it starts taking line. We let it pull the boat for a minute with a bunch of drag. And
I think on the first time I saw its head out of the water, I said maybe 850, 900. And it was kind of a down and dirty fight for about an hour and 15 minutes.
back up to it. Next thing we know, it's straight down, going down, and Marlin and I swapped places. I ended up driving, and he ended up sitting on the deck with a pair of gloves on, poaching the reel from the bottom. The angler was poaching from the top. Drags on Sunset. The wife is holding him in the chair in the bucket harness, and a friend of ours is on the covering board with about 4 or 5 beach towels on his leg with the rod bent over it with a fish. Took us about maybe an hour and a half to plane it up. And she came up like a submarine.
Put a stick gaff in it, slid it partially into the door, put a rope on it, and slid it 3/4 into the door. I looked down at the fish and I said, well, after what we've been through, I sure hope it makes a grand.
Well, I pulled the short measurement, then I took the girth on it. The tail was hanging out the door. I looked at Marlin and I go, how big was what was the girth on the 1257? He goes, 72. I said, well, this one's 80. He just looked at me and I go, the 1400 was caught on the Marlin Magic on May 5th, 1990. Angler was Roy Hudson, his wife Kathy was on board, and a friend of ours was on board, also a second crew, who used to own the Sea Baby 3 named Joe Soldier. It's a good thing he was on there too.
Coming up, the fish keep getting bigger and bigger on Australia's Great Barrier Reef.
Oh, goody, 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 goody.
You've already made a great choice in electronics. Now, achieve sonar superiority with an Airmar chirp transducer. Advanced chirp technology that can find them in wrecks and find them in the depths. That's sonar superiority by Airmar. The vast stretch of the Great Barrier Reef, composed of nearly 3,000 individual reefs, this wonder of the world sweeps over 1,500 miles just off the coast of Queensland. Ken is no stranger to fishing down under. This time he's traveling solo, while Dan fishes in Hawaii. The best way to max out some good fishing time is to be near the source. In comes a mothership, the Beluga. It moors safely next to the calm edge of the reef. A super yacht with a crew of 7 is home base. There are 5 staterooms for 10 guests. This is the perfect mothership. Fishing along the reef usually starts mid-morning. Their charter boat this week, the Tradition. Built for one purpose only: catch big black marlin. Captain Tim Richardson will troll along some ribbon reefs, the long, skinny reefs that lie on the edge of the continental shelf. He'll troll up and down ribbons 9 and 10. It doesn't take long for Captain Tim's hunch to pay off. A monster comes calling.
What do you think that is? 9.5? Thick, super thick. Like this thick.
Unlike blue marlin, black marlin usually wait to jump until they get to the stern of the boat. That's when the show begins. This is a massive beast. They'll tag and release this beauty. Black marlin are specialists of slice and dice.
You're free, Garrett.
The crew gives it a conservative weight at 950 pounds. A little over 1,000 pounds? Possibly. This is the biggest black marlin they've seen so far.
So here we are again on the GBR Great Barrier Reef. Just caught a real nice one. I'm still in shape and I'm 70 years old. So there.
If you like to fish, you're gonna love Australia. With nearly 40,000 miles of coastline, this place is fishing heaven down under.